Everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, let's discuss the important API interview questions and answers. Okay, so if you want this PDF, I have given a link in the description and also in the comment section. Please do check out. Okay, so the interview questions goes like, what is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. It is a set of rules and protocols for building and interacting with software applications. APIs allow different software systems to communicate with each other. They are used to access web-based services. For example, a weather app using a weather API to get forecast test data. Okay. And the next question goes like, what are the types of APIs? Okay. What is a REST API? What are the HTTP methods supported by REST? What is the difference between put and post? Okay. Put updates or replaces the resource, whereas post adds a new one. What is an endpoint in API? An endpoint is a specific URL where an API can access the resources. Okay, it acts as a point of contact between the API and client. What is JSON and XML in APIs? What is the status code represents 200, 201, 400, 401, 404, 500 in API? What is API testing? What is a postman? What is authentication and authorization in API? What are headers in API? What is a payload in API? What is OAuth 2.0? What is rate limiting in APIs? What is cross-origin resource sharing in APIs? What is a Swagger? What is RESTful versus SOAP API? What is an API key? What is a mock API? What is versioning in API? What is latency? What is API gateway? What are some common tools used for API testing? And what are idempotent methods in REST API? What is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous APIs? What is a REST resource? What is HATOAS in REST? What are query parameters and path parameters? What is the difference between 401 and 403 HTTP status codes? What is a token in APIs? What is RESTful routing? What is the use of options method in HTTP? What are environment variables in Postman? What is the API documentation? What is throttling in APIs? What is a webhook? What are the best practices for designing REST APIs? How do you secure an API? What is pagination in REST APIs? What is the purpose of content type header? How do you handle errors in REST APIs? What is the difference between SOAP and REST APIs? What is a schema in API? What is idempotency? What is the difference between REST and GraphQL? What is Postman collection? What is an integration test in API? What are common response formats in API? What are common headers in API requests? What is a contract in API development? What is an API gateway and its role? What is the difference between monolithic and microservices APIs? What is a JSON Web Token? How do you handle versioning in REST APIs? What are the some common API response status codes? How do you monitor APIs in production? What's the difference between API mocking and stubbing? What's the difference between get and head methods? What is a GraphQL and how it is different from REST? How do you test APIs in automation frameworks? What is dependency injection in API services? What is an open API specification? What is an API proxy? How does caching work in APIs? What is the difference between client side and server side APIs? What are some security vulnerabilities in APIs? What is API orchestration? What is the use of e-tag in APIs? What are the challenges of API development? What is a SOAP envelope? What is the difference between REST and RPC APIs? How do you secure internal APIs? What are asynchronous callbacks in APIs? What is the difference between synchronous versus asynchronous messaging in APIs? What is a 429 HTTP status code? What is the difference between soft delete and hard delete in APIs? What is a service mesh and how does it relate to APIs? What is a circuit breakup pattern in API communication? What is the purpose of API rate limiting? What is API first design? How do you handle API response time issues? What is the difference between API testing and unit testing? What is an SDK in context of APIs? What is a base URL in REST API? What is a API sprawl and how it can be managed? What is an API gateway? What is API gateway between put, patch and post? What is API gateway throttling? What is the use of location headers in an API response? What is a hypermedia API? What is the options pre-flight request in CORS? What is an API registry? What is API gateway versus load balancer? How do you log API activity securely? Okay, so these are the set of interview questions that you need to be aware of with respect to the API. I have given this link in the description and also in the comment section. Please do check out. I have uploaded my notes in the link. So thank you so much for watching my video. All the best for your upcoming interview. Happy learning, happy testing.